Coming up now?
Right.
All right, let's ready.
Still
Oh, there we
looks
go.
like
Okay, ready? Boom. All right, now.
It'd be nice to my mouse.
She was gonna be here, so.
Good God. Good God. And then.
Just let me go.
Thanksgiving, and that was it.
Well, that's the policy. In and out. Exactly now. Well, that's my prerogative there, isn't it? Doesn't say that I
We're
get
staying
choice.
here.
Doesn't
Taking it
say that
easy.
the last sentence says that I have the choice on.
They are. They're
It says right there,
No,
the
that
town
was the
manager.
last minute, like a couple weeks ago, they decided to extend it, so. That's made it harder on.
Well, I
All
would.
of
That's what I'm
us.
saying is I would.
Yeah. So is this what Matt is trying to do?
Well, full week of kids being home before Christmas.
Yeah.
And do I got everything done yet? Yeah.
Including myself.
I'm not my comments on
Yeah, and we never want to use it. We better take care of it. What about? Careful of the flag. Hey, this. Careful of the flag right behind you. Thank you.
Oh, yes. It's already. So it's a land, so it's a landing. So. Okay.
Yes.
I turn my phone off, just might tell me when it's done.
It's almost.
How are you? Ready for Santa? Not sure good.
Oh, the assumption.
Let's go ahead and start. Want to open up the town council meeting for December 20th. Call a roll, please, Lisa, for last time.
Mayor Fletcher Foskey,
Present?
Councilmember Robert Bloxham,
Present.
Councilmember Ray Barker,
Present.
Councilmember Thelma Gillespie, Councilmember Joy Marino,
Present.
Councilmember Sarah Knox,
Present.
Councilmember Mathis Oswald.
Present.
All members are present. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Lisa. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consideration and approval of meeting minutes for the November 22nd, 2021 town council meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read over the minutes? I'm sure they have. Any revisions or comments that you made? Go ahead.
Page 1, Lisa, number 6. The contact information for the property manager, I think that should be from us. Yeah, it's a typo. Number 6.
Oh, you've got it corrected.
These are the corrected. Did you not get the corrected one?
No, that's in their package. Oh, that's right.
I had sent an email saying that there was the second.
Okay, all right.
And maybe all the ones I'm looking at. are
Maybe.
incorrect.
Well, let's go through and make sure.
What about number 3? Special use permit for short-term rentals expires every 3 years from date of issuance. Was there anything in there about rentals that were grandfathered in, or
They would
do
be
all rentals expire every 3 years?
only those that are part of this policy. So any existing permit prior to you folks enacting this policy are grandfathered in. So
They
theirs do not
have to renew
expire.
ever?
No, they only, The only timeout when the property changes hands.
But also on that one, the expires should be expired.
Yeah.
Well, you probably corrected this one too, number 12. Have it on $260,000.
What page
We're
is it?
page one.
Page 2, number 12. Second one.
Oh, way down there. Oh.
Did you already correct that one, Lisa?
I don't see a second dollar sign.
$260,000, and then you have.
It's the dollar.
Oh,
sign and the
dollar,
word
dollar. Yeah.
I don't have that in here.
No, you got the correct.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
the corrected one.
But that's, I'm seeing that in the corrected one still.
On page 3, the town manager's report, A. It says ARPA projects updates,
There's nothing there.
and there's nothing there.
Yeah, he didn't actually orally review anything at the meeting,
So that should be stricken.
but that's part of the agenda.
It was the agenda that said ARPA project updates was on the agenda.
Well, what you put no,
Yeah.
nothing was
So
said.
we can have that.
Yeah, so just,
None was discussed.
Nothing was discussed.
okay.
Well, it's part of the normal
I
financial
know,
package,
yeah,
so,
you know.
it was
Things
Or
are
see
clear.
attached. I haven't see attached.
And then Councilmember Oswald asked,
Where are you again
third paragraph, right where we were.
here?
If the business owner that currently provides the lawn services to the town been informed, there's no notes in the minutes about that anywhere. So how do we refer back to that discussion?
It was from a previous meeting.
It was what?
It's from a previous meeting that Matt had talked about the lawn service and us buying the new, the lawnmower.
It was in my October manager's report.
But in your November town manager's report on page 3, where Joy is speaking from, it stated that there is contact with the partner and that they are aware of the coming change, and that was never reported or to my knowledge, did not happen.
Well, I spoke to Gene, so yes, it did
After-
happen. No, I spoke to
But
him
after
prior
this
to
was
that.
written.
Yes, it was after the October meeting.
It is after the October meeting, but it was just recently.
Well, I haven't spoken to the owner yet because I haven't even gotten a quote for the mower yet.
I was confused. I thought we discussed it this meeting.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
it
in the
was
October
October.
town manager's report.
Anybody else? We have a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Motion to approve as amended. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Public business, we have two joint public hearings, I guess. We need to do them separately. So Scott, you want to open up your meeting?
Sure. I'd like to call the December 20th Planning Commission meeting to order. Please, would you call roll?
Commissioner Bill Bagwell,
Here.
Commissioner Robert Bloxham,
Here.
Commissioner Brandon Brockmeyer.
Here.
Commissioner Larry Frey.
Here.
Chairman Scott Schreiber.
Here.
Commissioner Teely Bird. Commissioner Carol Tunstall.
Here.
Majority members are present. We have a quorum.
Yeah, I'm now going to open the public hearing for 7 Hartman Avenue rezone to R2 multifamily residence. And Matt, you want to tell us about?
Sure, the current owners are Escadev. They currently use the property as a multifamily, but because of the nature of their business, didn't need to be zoned as multifamily because a group home, according to Virginia, doesn't need to be required to be rezoned. They're putting the property up for sale. It is a multifamily property. It's going to continue to serve multifamily residences. This is a zoning to match its purpose, its current use and future use.
And all the property owners have been notified. We don't have any comments from anybody.
So
No,
I
not
can't speak to
property.
that. Yes,
Any written
adjacent property owners were notified. I haven't received anything in-house.
Any public comments on the zoning change? and close the public hearing.
Yeah,
And
well
then,
done.
I guess, you guys want to make a recommendation on the commission? You need a recommendation for the council about what you want to do with this.
Yeah, they had unanimously voted for both of the,
Yeah, but they need the recommendation after the plan here. You need to make another one because they're heard from the public now.
Okay, so make it now on just this?
Yeah, it's just, you know,
Yes, the planning commission recommends that we approve the zoning change for 7 parking lots.
you got to vote.
Second.
Second,
Wait, who?
that was Scott making the motion.
Can you make a
Second.
motion,
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yes, he can.
As
the
Yes, he
chairman?
can. Yes, he
Okay.
can, as the planning commission.
Okay.
Planning
That's
commission.
different from other, Robert's Rules of Order said that he has to step
Oh, he-
down.
He can
From
vote, but he
his
can't make a motion.
He cannot make a motion.
Oh, make a motion.
All right.
Would
Well,
somebody like to make a motion?
there you go, Larry.
Can't even vote.
Need a second?
Yes.
Better have a second. Not me.
Mr. Bagwell.
Now I'm gonna vote no.
Now you can call the vote. All those in favor?
in favor? Opposed?
Okay, well, council will vote on it after this next couple of hearings. All right, and we'll open the joint public hearing now on the town properties to rezone to cultural, recreational, and community facilities. On that, you can explain that.
Sure. We have several properties in town that are currently being used for public and outdoor space. They're not currently zoned as such. So this motion with these properties listed in the packet, and I'll go through them quickly. The 85A1, A40 through 42 is the Business Waterfront. That's from the parking lot between Mallards and the ramp over to the Bagwell Bridge. That's those parcels. The next one is 85A3, A27 from Business Highway to Parks and Outdoor. That is the sliver of land at the corner of Fairgrounds and Market that has the entryway sign. 85A2, 928, and 85A4, A8 are the two pieces of property that were donated to the town for the proposed use as a dog park. So that's those two. And then the last is 85A2, A39 from R1A to Parks and Outdoors. This is the parcel behind us on Parker Street that has the old water well and pump building on it. So we just want to protect that from development. All of these, this designation would preclude any building or development on it. These are strictly to be used as outdoor space by town. Go ahead.
Particularly that the last one, that would it require the town to do something to make it public use property?
I think currently, because the property is in some disrepair, that we're going to do that anyway. Because we need to secure the roof, we need to get the property cleaned up and maintained in a way that we would expect it to be maintained. So I don't think we need to do anything special for this property, but we do need to get it back up to the point where we're proud to call it our own.
Is that building, is there something in that building?
It's empty now. It was used for storage for a long time.
Okay. And so could it be used, could it be utilized as for something? In a
Yeah, I
public
think it
situation?
would be interesting if, once we get it cleaned up and I get the roof taken care of, that we could open it up and make a little pavilion out of it. I think that would be interesting.
But this locks it into park.
Yeah, this keeps it from being developed for any other use other than parks and outdoor space.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any public comments on any of this? I had a question about the waterfront or rezoning the.
Sure.
Is that gonna conflict with people that want to land seafood and things like that on that pier?
No, because that part of the fuel dock and that section of the bulkhead is still Business Waterfront.
So you're only doing a little tiny piece in front of the.
We're doing the parking in front of the parking lot and the floating docks.
But there's no conflict with the marina?
And I've talked with the DPA and they're completely comfortable with whatever zoning we find appropriate. Okay.
All right, so look,
One other question on that.
Sure.
Will this require any further changes, or does this feed into the idea that was mentioned of a sunset park? Is this like step one towards doing that? Or
This is step one for doing that and also using any of the ARPA funds to maintain our outdoor spaces.
How many acres is the dog park?
The total parcel that was donated is 6.23 acres.
okay, I'd like to close the public hearing on this then. Guess you guys have to,
Somebody like to make a motion?
you need to make. a
That's not me.
It's not you. Larry,
Second.
Brandon,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, thank you. Guess you can close your meeting.
close your meeting, take a motion to adjourn.
So,
Thank you. Carol, has that moved it? Brandon, second.
Thank you.
I'll ask one other
Brandon, oh, is anybody going to vote on the adjournment? Just want to make
Can we vote
sure.
on the adjournment? All those in favor of adjourning?
Thank you.
Opposed?
All right.
Your work here is done. Thank you.
So, the kayak park, what's the kayak park?
It's currently zoned as Parks and Outdoor Space. That's already done. So is the one East Park. We've got- Yeah, we've got parcels that are already zoned as such. We just had these that weren't declared being used as such. So this is just getting us up to speed.
All right, so I need a motion for 7 Hartman Avenue from council. I think it's new. Anybody want to read that, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we refund the property located at number 7 Hartman Avenue, tax ID 8583-A-6A from R1A to R2 to allow for multifamily residents.
We have a
I
second
second the motion.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Somebody want to read the resolution for town properties?
Outdoor space.
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we rezone the following properties to the POS Parks and Outdoor Spaces designation as defined in Town Code 38-229. Property tax ID numbers 85A1A 40 through 42, 85A3A27, 85A2 928, 85A4A8, 85A2A39.
Second. All in favor, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Planning Commission people. The next item on the agenda is council discussion, review, discuss, adopt procurement policy for federally funded projects. Matt, I think you talked about this a little bit last meeting.
I did. As part of the procedure to acquire anything federally funded, especially using the ARPA money, that's where this is all born from, but really it should be done with any federally funded project. We need to comply with the federal purchase policy called 2 CFR Part 200. That is a massive, massive policy. So what I did was I went through and created a check mark, basically a checklist, go through any purchase or procurement that uses federally funded dollars and go through this checklist to say yes or no. And by selecting no in certain cases, then the purchase wouldn't qualify. So any purchase that we would use federally funded dollars needs to comply with this procurement checklist. And my proposal is, or my request is that we adopt this to amend the current purchase and procurement policy that the council put in place back in 2019.
Excuse me, say that again, please, what you just said.
Back in February 19, you all adopted a purchase policy.
Procurement
For the town.
policy.
Procurement.
For the town.
Yes. What my suggestion is that this checklist be used to amend that purchase policy so that for any federally funded project or procurement moving forward, we have to comply using this checklist.
Okay, but this checklist would only be used for federally funded
Correct.
purchases
That's
and not our policy doesn't change or be affected by it.
That is correct.
Okay.
So basically federally funded would be ARPA at this point.
At this point, but there are other possibilities for federally funded projects. So I wanted to make sure we have this in place for anything, not just ARPA.
So you're just basically asking us at this point to look at this and we'll come back to it. We're not approving this tonight because, it refers back all the time to the section 200.318. I don't know that, where, is that a federal?
That's federal.
Yeah, because I searched Virginia code, there wasn't.
Right. No, this is the summary of the federal requirements for 2 CFR 200. It is a massive.
Should we have a tutorial, a work session to understand it, or do we need to understand this
checklist-
any further? That you have to, wait a second, you have to comply with all of this
I do.
in order for the procurement of anything from the federal funds.
Correct.
And this is the checklist it's just standard. I mean, it's from their form.
Yeah.
Are you saying though that this supersedes our town procurement?
Only for
Just
federally
Only for
Only
federally
for
funded.
federally funded, so then that would supersede all of our ARPA money. You would not have to follow the town procurement policy for the ARPA funding.
Correct. But this 2 CFR 200 is far more restrictive than our
I
local
don't see
policy.
that, Matt. I do not see that because if you look on page 2, they're calling a micro purchase $3,500.
Right.
You can, I mean, that's just.
And our policy currently says
But
purchases
then it
under
says-
purchases under 5,000. So
Right.
3,500 is less than that, which would make it more restrictive.
Then it comes to small purchase procedures of 150,000. There's no council approval here anywhere in the policy.
I'm struggling with how to adopt 2 CFR 200. That's the policy I'm required to meet.
Can't you also have to meet our policy as well?
Yes,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can,
yes.
so what you're saying is that you want me to meet our policy, and if it's less restrictive, use theirs, but if it's more restrictive, use ours.
No, use.
I always have to comply with the 2 CFR 200 for
Right.
federal.
We
Right.
understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should, if it's less restrictive, you can't ignore our policy just because you adopt another one.
Yeah. you
No,
can
that's
send
why,
us-
Yeah.
but for federally funded, I'm not required to use ours, I'm required to use theirs.
But you
So,
have to comply with theirs, but you have to use ours because the council requires that of
so
you.
then we would need to amend ours to say for all purchases, including federally funded.
Okay,
Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, this is an incredibly challenging
Yeah, I got it.
checklist
And I
to
don't-
meet anyway.
I don't think any of us are capable of evaluating a federal thing,
Right.
Instead of looking at it here, and we don't want to be involved in every single federal, and that's your job to do that, but we need to make it so that you.
Well, I'm perfectly comfortable with that because the checklist alone is how many pages long? 6 pages long.
but that
So-
doesn't change anything. The checklist will still be complied with, but what we're saying is
That's
that the town policy is first.
So we'll need to amend the pure procurement policy to say that, well, I think this does say that
Yeah.
all purchases.
All
Yeah,
purchases.
So I would already
This can be an
comply with the
addendum.
procurement policy and then the CFR 200 is an addendum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm fine.
So
I'm
no
fine.
limits of approval, same thing.
Okay,
It's just to say that,
Just to say
that
that.
if, in the cases where the federal is less restrictive,
I would always follow ours.
yes.
Okay,
So whichever is more restrictive for any category is the one that goes when it's a federal thing.
no, I can do that, no problem. No
But
problem.
I would still like to see a copy of the CRF2, whatever, because you took items from the CRF.
It's over 100,000 things.
So what did you decide to take out of it then? How
I
did
didn't take
you?
anything out of it.
I think you-
I summarized it, but it's tens of thousands of pages long.
How did you know how to read it down?
Because I got this from another source who already weeded it down.
And that source was?
A consulting firm who worked for one of the large cities in town or in the state rather. So, I mean, this is customized by me to use our language, but the checklist was created by a consultant who worked for a large city who needed to comply with 2 CFR 200. So,
A large city
yeah,
in Virginia.
right.
Well, as long as we're still following our.
Right.
Policies first.
Our policies first, we shouldn't have, we shouldn't
Correct.
have a fitting with the federal policy.
Yeah, no, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
I mean, if we don't do something right, we're gonna.
I can
they're gonna
see
come back and
why,
Tell us, right? Yeah,
I can see why it was a large city.
right, yeah.
Well, this is,
Looking at this
yeah, but this
policy
is
makes
federal.
sense.
They didn't rewrite the federal policy either. They just made it so
They
that,
pulled it out though to fit a large city.
well, they pulled it out to fit a manageable project so that we could go through and check this list for every procurement.
So that you can comply with.
So that I can comply with the 2 CFR 200 without having to.
We have one item on our ARC list that exceeds $150,000. So most of our items are much less.
Correct.
All right, so do we want to vote on this? Does anybody have any issues with it?
I would like,
How do we vote on this?
no,
Because we want to be clear that our policy.
Well, our poli-
You can put that as part of the motion. Yeah, I mean, our policy doesn't get changed
I
at
know,
all.
I understand that.
It says
I
all purposes.
understand that. And I'm just saying that the procurement policy has to be followed for the federal funds. And that's
You
what
could
we.
include that in your motion that our policy supersedes this, that the federal policy is an amendment to ours. Our policy must always be adhered to. And in addition to that, any federally funded project must adhere to the 2 CFR 200.
That sounds like a good motion.
Perfect, get it?
no,
You're recording it? 'Cause that was gold right there.
No.
That was as good as it gets.
no, I would like it to say that our procurement policy must always be followed. And then,
We have to, if it's our policy.
If it's our policy, it's our
like saying we have
policy.
to enforce the
Right, so we just say, in addition.
Yeah.
When you
Right,
say
yeah.
federally
Addition,
funded
right,
project. yeah.
right.
In addition to our procurement policy. we need to
Right,
follow
I
it.
understand your intent, so I'm perfectly comfortable.
well, we want the motion to be worded correctly.
We're not
Can
changing
I
anything
give that a
about
shot?
the
Please.
Bob.
In addition to our existing procurement policy, I move that we adopt the procurement checklist for compliance with 2 CFR or 200 for all federally funded expenditures.
All in favor? Discussion. Okay, all right, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chrissy, Bob.
Did we get a second?
Sarah, seconded. Yeah.
I do.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I didn't think I had.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right, yeah, we're now reached the public comment, section. Carol, you've got something?
Carol Tunstall, 23 Meadville. I'm here tonight, though, representing the board of directors of Onancock Main Street. And we would like to express our gratitude and put a fond farewell to Lisa. Lisa, your unfailing willingness to provide assistance to our organization as we have partnered with the town on various projects has been invaluable and essential to our success this year. Those projects have included development of a new town brand, administration of the small business recovery funds, and providing data needed by Main Street to apply for grants and to chart our strategies. You have helped make our organization more effective during our startup years. We feel lucky to have had your participation in our efforts, and we will miss you very much. And best of luck in the adventure.
Any other public comment? Yeah, Peaches.
Rise across. I will not hold, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Peaches Dodge. I live at 12 Meadville Drive in Onancock, and I'm the president of the board of the Eastern Shore Coalition Against Domestic Violence. We too wouldn't have been here tonight without Lisa, who is also our treasurer on our board of directors, which I'm very proud to say. So I snagged her up and brought her with us as well. Still has that work to do, by the way. She's not. Anyway, I want to thank you, Lisa, for everything you've done. And just to thank all of you, that this has been very seamless. We bought, as you know, the parcel of GF Horn property, and we're sort of trying to keep us in the papers enough so that you all can follow along in our progress. But I really want to make sure that you always feel that you can call me, ask me questions. You know, if something's coming up or you're hearing something that you'd like to have some clarification about, I want to be sure that you understand that I really want to be part of that. I'm very excited. I can hardly stand here. And when I start talking about it all, I get goosebumps. So I won't go on and on forever, but it just, you know, we've got 3 roofs on, we've got heat coming in, we've got water, we've got electricity. We're hoping that and we've got somebody online so that we are aiming to the end of April to open the shelter.
Wow.
At which point you all have to come. And we will have a very big party to say thank you to all of you, but that will be very important to us. And we're delighted to be able to stay in Onancock. That was like a dream come true as far as I was concerned. It was hard to think of expanding or doing. And because we came to talk about the properties that we had around our office at 155 Market Street, we ended up being able to sort of work along fast because this was a hot market and get ourselves, you know, in position for GF Horn, which I think will be really bigger than you know. I mean, I don't even know how it's going to grow in the kinds of needs it will meet. But I know that Accomack and Northampton County will be in good shape. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with you. I'm selling more property. Never can tell if I need more help about getting that squared away. It's to fund, obviously. We own the property, you know, we own an office, and we owned a shelter. And the 7 Hartman was our shelter. So the office building is still on the market. So all of that's the way we're funding what we're doing, as well as, of course, the $100,000 we got from the ARPA funds from you, which we really, all of that's very, 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 very important. And you can be, I hope you feel proud of yourselves too, because I feel proud of having you all here. And I had a wonderful time at the parade. Thank you.
Thanks for cleaning up the backyard.
Yeah, man, that was good.
All right, any other public comment? No public comment. Okay, thank you. All right, committee reports. Bob, HRSD.
I'm going to defer to Matt. He's been the one with his finger on the pulse of that of late.
Want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, HRSD, the report I've given for the last 5 months is that we are waiting for USDA at the federal level to release the grant from repayment for the portion that was granted versus loan. We, meaning HRSD and Onancock management, have agreed that if we don't get that response by 12/31, that we'll reach out to our congressional and senatorial representatives to find out if there's something that we can inquire a little bit more assertively. But through the holidays, we need to let this go. I reached out again to USDA state level today, finding out if there was any way I could do it, but the holidays are a complicated time to do business, so things turn slowly, but we are about to jiggle the handle a little bit. We need to get this done. There are people out, I mean, Bowman's out doing survey work, putting shovels in the ground, and right now it's a pipeline to nowhere, so we've got to get this done.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is it still coming down Jackson Street? I've been told that it's not coming down that way.
The route changed, but
Yeah.
part of the commitment is that HRXD is going to add Jackson Street to their scope of work for Branford to have them pave Jackson.
Say that again, it's not coming down Jackson
But
Street.
HRSD is going to add that paving of that street because we were relying on them to do that. And because we have what's called detrimental reliance, they're going to add the paving of that street to the scope of work that they have for all of their paving work. So Jackson Street can be taken care of.
By Branford.
Yes.
Do they, is that route published? Do you have that?
It is published, yes. It's, they've done a couple of, I actually think I have it in a PowerPoint.
If you can send it.
It's a beastly one. Yeah, I'm glad
Send
to.
it out, please?
Yeah, I'm
Because
glad
we
to.
get comments, not questions about that.
And
Sure.
what was the term that you used? Because it's.
Well, honestly, it was HRSD are really good people to work with. So the term was detrimental reliance, is that we were going to have a problem because of the way that they had said it was going to be going up Jackson. So we had redirected a lot of our resources around that because they were going to fix it. Once they realized that because their route changed, we weren't going to get that work done and it would cause damage to us, they agreed that they were just going to add it to their scope of work, and they did so gladly.
Okay, is that all for HRC? Waterfront,
Waterfront did not meet this month,
planning commission, did meet,
did not meet until tonight.
personnel,
Mm,
we need to set up a meeting.
Yes, we do, and also I've got a draft of meetings.
Yeah.
calendars, and so
Can
on.
I sneak up on that? Because in next month's agenda, you're going to see that you are going to be asked to adopt/approve the meeting schedule for calendar 2022. I put a draft of those meeting dates in front of you for each of the committees. The one change is, and Bob can take credit for this if he wants, or he can hide under the desk, is that we're going to change the date that the planning commission normally meets, because one of the things that we found is that if planning commission makes a recommendation that we have a hearing, we have to wait a full 6 weeks before we can actually do that. So by moving it earlier in the month, I can advertise a hearing
Right. Makes sense.
and have it work with the scheduled date of the council. So that's why planning commission is meeting much earlier than it normally would. We spoke with the folks at planning commission and none of them had an issue whatsoever. They were all fully supportive.
We're gonna meet the first, second?
First Tuesday at 5:30.
Okay. All right.
It builds in enough advertising
Yes,
days and in any circumstance we can hit the council meeting.
Yeah. we speed up some more. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is fine. All right. All
That
right.
puts personnel and planning on the same day, but at different times.
Yeah, I spoke with Joey about what day and time worked well. That seemed to work. But again, this is draft. If this doesn't work, we'll change it.
Well, personnel doesn't, sometimes it's not gonna meet every month.
No, I've got a few things lined up,
That's 3:32, so.
but yeah.
And don't you think we should meet every month?
Yeah, we should have a meeting scheduled, but we don't, we can cancel it if we have to. We haven't had a meeting forever.
Well, personnel committee should meet every month
Yeah.
because there are always things that need to be discussed.
But we're not adopting this now.
No. That was just for you to look at, put a calendar in front, see if it makes sense, see if it works.
Okay.
I also made the decision that next December, I just automatically move the meeting prior so that way you don't have to vote to move it.
All right.
You know you're going to vote to move it.
All right. So we're, the personnel, say all committee reports are mayor's report. I don't have a lot. I thought the parade was, I'd like to thank Jeff and Bob and Lisa did the parade. It was really nice. I think there were more people watching that parade than I've seen in quite a long time. I don't know what the numbers were, but it was
More entries too.
yeah, more, yeah. And you know, I was kind of worried because about a week before they only had like 12 entries or something, and it always comes up,
Watch the weather.
Yeah, the weather was, it was nice, it was cool, but it was great. I mean, I think the town looked great. The town decorations have looked really, all the lights up, great. Everything. tours, the driving tour was really nice. So, I think I got a lot of positive comments about that. I think the Christmas decorations really do bring people into town, and I think we're talking about doing some, doing some, the bridge decoration needs to be redone. I think we need to get some kind of neat thing there that's maybe a commercial thing. It's not homemade, that I made, so get some nice thing there.
You talked about that sailboat?
Yeah.
I love that boat.
Well, I do too, but it's kind of on its last legs. The light bulbs are out, and it's a lot of work. We're gonna do something just as good or better. Believe me. Yeah. It might be another sailboat, just be a bigger one. Yeah. Anyway, I know that we had some reporters in here talking to us about the police, and I think we're making strides. I think hopefully our cops are going to be on another 2 weeks.
Yeah, they'll be back in town, just, I think it's the 7th.
Yeah, so we're getting close to getting back to at least 4 people on
We'll
the
have our representation and.
yeah, and hopefully we can, it sounds like a couple of crimes have been solved, and
Yeah.
some arrests have been made, so hopefully we haven't had this much trouble, but we're still looking at, the camera situations ongoing. We're looking at what we can do to help our police officers stay here. We're trying to get our 5th officer still.
Yeah, the 5th officer is being advertised. As far as the cameras are concerned, we've gotten two quotes. And we've got one other company that honestly, they saw us on the news and he called me and said, hey, this is what I do. He's for a huge organization, but I told him, gosh, we don't have a budget anywhere near. And he said, you know what? Let's get together on the 27th and we'll talk and we'll see. So we're going to learn a little bit more before we have it.
So next January, we should have some.
I would think that by January, I would have like specific quotes and specific ideas. I plan on getting some free consulting from this guy for sure. So let's see how.
Well, we're working on this police situation. We have not, it's just not something we talk about. We're really trying to work on it.
Yeah, we are.
It's a serious problem. We can do something about it. All right. We have two vacancies coming up here. Bob is leading this, unfortunately, and it's going to be tough to replace his financial acumen. But he's a member of two things. One, he's a planning commission person, so we need to replace him. Someone from council should go on planning commission. So we don't have to decide that right now, but we can think about it. And waterfront, that's true. And also he's, so waterfront, waterfront, I don't think we're required, that's not the thing. I'm a member of the waterfront. It'd be nice to have a council member. If somebody wants to be, that's fine, but that's not a mandatory thing. It's supposed to be.
Right, but you attend every.
I go.
Yeah.
And the final thing is he's our vice mayor. So we need to appoint one of you needs to be appointed vice mayor. If we want to decide, the problem with that is that he's the third check signer. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we need 2 checks signed, and I'm not here all the time, and Bob is going to, wasn't here, and sometimes we've had issues getting checks signed. So whoever's the vice mayor needs to be available to sign checks. That's one of the requirements. Rarely do you run a meeting. I'm not here most of the time. So if anybody has any thoughts about it, if you send somebody.
Should we wait until the next, till his seat is filled?
His seat's already filled.
I understand that.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it would, but I mean, normally we can point anybody to vice mayor, but I don't.
Well, should we wait?
That's what I'm.
Yeah, we can do that. Problem is, we're not gonna have a person signing checks after tonight.
Oh.
But I will be here. I think
He'll be here and we've got it. Also, there's, we have to get new check cards to do that. And because Truist is doing their merger thing, that's not that easy. So in the near term, we're only going to do a couple of check runs between now and the next meeting.
I will be here. When is your last, end of the month?
I think my resignation letter was effective 12/31, so I think you could get a few more checks
We
out.
can get a couple checks.
Well, I just signed a bunch on today, so I think that should be good.
Yeah, no, that's why we did it.
Yeah.
So we're really paid up through the end of the year.
All right, so 2 things to think about, invite vice mayor and
When does our new council member take effect?
and tomorrow, if you want to. Yeah, she needs to get sworn in, right, Cindy?
I've been
She's sworn in.
You've been sworn in, so
She's all ready to
well,
go.
she can't take effect, actually, she can't take effect until he's
12/31.
So it'll be, January.
So happy New Year.
Yeah.
Her term starts January.
But we're also, just so you know, we're including her in town council communication so that she's
Yeah.
getting the information that everybody else is getting.
Okay, so, I'll leave it up to, you guys need to talk among yourselves about those two, we need to get those two things filled, okay? And I haven't done anything else, okay? Town manager's report.
I sent mine out in writing and I copied everybody in the mailbox and sent it out earlier today. Sorry for the adjustment. Probably the bigger things are obviously staffing. We've got to replace Lisa's position. We've advertised it for the last 3 weeks. We'll continue to advertise it until it's filled. But I was really heartened to see that we've gotten some strong resumes. So I was very pleased. But also for the near term, my job shifts a little bit because Lisa's cross-trained me on how to do her job. So now I'm doing the DPW, water and administration. So bear with me, please. It's a busy time.
Question on the applicants, if I may, are the people applying mostly here already or?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're local candidates.
Thank you.
Mid-year budget amendment next month, we'll come forward with a budget amendment that's not going to change the operating budget for the town. Everything stays the same. We just have to add the money for the ARPA monies that we received and put it in a formal budget. So we'll have to have a public hearing and walk that way through, but you'll see that coming. As far as grant administration, the small business recovery grant is done. We've been fully compensated with the $45,000 administrative fee that we earned to do that. We've paid a little bit out to Main Street, but the rest of that is unbudgeted income. The rest of the projects you can see, the bulkhead, honestly, I would be very surprised if we could get that thing started anytime in the near term. I committed that if it wasn't going to be completed by February 28th, that we were going to just kick it down the road till next year. The Army Corps of Engineers still hasn't given us our permit. I can't see how in any reasonable way that we're going to get the permit, put it to bid and get the project done. So I talked with VPA. We're already going to make a request to carry forward those grant dollars to next year. She's ready for my letter. Yes, ma'am.
Pardon me, but do we have a copy of your report in our packet? Because
Not the packet.
I congratulated you on giving us the report ahead of time prior to this, and now I have to reprimand.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Like I say, it's been a very
Because it's
full
very
schedule.
helpful for us to know where we're going.
I couldn't agree more, and
Thank
my apologies. It got sent out via email and printed, but it was late.
But
Thank
okay, I
you.
just wanted to stop.
No,
going through the pages.
No, that's that.
You got one.
Is the report?
Yeah.
It was on your desk. wasn't it?
Well, it's in your mailboxes,
Oh, it's in
and
the
it was emailed to you.
I went there yesterday and picked up. my
Yeah,
stuff
no,
and
it got done today, so my apologies.
This is extra.
You can have that one. I've already read it.
You can have it. All right. Other big things are, I guess I'll just give a quick update on the water tower and then everybody else can just read the report. But the water tower is, the guys that are working on it, first of all, great team from Southern Corrosion. They've been phenomenal to work with and communicate with and everything else. And I think they're doing really good work. I've got progress photos from inside and outside that really show the quality of the work and the level of effort that they're putting in. They're leaving for their Christmas break tomorrow, so you're not going to see them back until January 3rd. On January 4th, the interior will have had the 20 days that it requires to cure. They're going to sanitize it, and then the following morning, we'll fill the tank with water. Once we fill it, after it's sanitized, then we get a chemical testing on it to make sure the Department of Health agrees that everything is right with the world. Once that happens, then we'll be able to turn the water tower on, be able to take our pressure release valves off, and we'll go back to normal issues instead of all the new issues. So, any questions?
Like every 10 years?
Well, yes, technically, but what my budget for next year is going to include a preventive maintenance contract with Southern to take care of this. So maybe it's not as dramatic every 10 years. But yeah, the interior should be resealed every 10 years.
And And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and that's part of a guarantee that once you do it, it lasts 10 years?
Yeah, they have a 10-year guarantee on it. And the work they did, when you see the picture, you'll be taken aback at how good it looks and how bad it didn't.
I don't know how it was.
I've been
I
down
don't
there
wanna
several
know.
times.
Yeah.
I think I know.
They've done a beautiful job.
Yeah, they really have. And the inside is what I really care about. The outside looks great, but the inside is really pristine. Really great work. So I'm pleased with that team and everything else, and no surprises on cost. Everything's right where we expected it to be. I think that's about it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
One question on that.
Yeah.
On the other projects, what is DMV stop?
DMV Stop is a program where we notify Department of Motor Vehicles if anybody owes us taxes. And when they go to get their vehicle registered, they say, oh, no, you may not register your vehicle until you go pay your taxes
Or your license review.
or your
I
license.
thought
review.
the number for the way that part.
No, you did not.
And we're, almost every other town in the Commonwealth uses this program.
We did away with unpaid court costs.
Oh, right, okay, I knew it was something, right, okay.
Under paper road ordinance,
Yes,
I don't understand why we're working with an engineer to write in such a manner as to comply with VDOT.
because our policy needs to comply with VDOT, an engineering report that VDOT provides for the specifications.
I don't know why the specifications for VDOT has to be in a paper roads ordinance. It just, a paper roads ordinance just has to say meet VDOT standards, but that's it. In all the paper roads ordinances that I've read. And so you're gonna put in very specific specification for VDOT standards?
Yes,
Do we really want to do that?
I don't.
Do we want to lock ourselves into that on a paper road?
I'm happy to do whatever council wants me to do. At this point, I was just trying to do complete clear work.
Well, it's our road, right?
Yeah,
The town road.
yeah, so we can just say meets VDOT standards.
Versus what, I'm
Because-
clear.
because
Where do you say
I don't-
it's clear?
The difference is, do we pin down what the current VDOT standards are in our ordinance? Or do we put in essence, a hyperlink that says,
Follow the current
What-
standard?
when a paper road becomes a real road, it must follow the VDOT standards at that time?
Well, is there a problem with this, does the engineer think there's a problem with the VDOT standards that we can do better than? Or,
Well, we want to put it meets or exceeds VDOT standards
well,
at that time.
Yeah.
Or what?
current, you know.
Current or meets or exceeds. I don't think because the VDOT standards are going to change. If we put those VDOT standards in that paper road ordinance,
There's a
They don't
paper
change at all.
road, there's a paper road on the side of my house. And it is in terrible condition
They've been built.
because but it meets VDOT standards for the paper road. But that would be quite an annoyance if I cared,
paper roads are.
but I don't. Because it's covered with pine shacks. So, but the road is gravel, they made a mess, And the whole point was to keep it from having big puddles in front of it, but that was meeting VDOT standards. So I think locking ourselves into saying VDOT standards rather than at the time makes a big difference.
I mean, do you want to go 18 feet? Do you want to go 20 feet? Do you want to go tar and chip? Do you want to go how deep tar and chip has to be and all that in the ordinance? Or do you just want to say meet or exceed VDOT standards?
Well, it depends on the number of homes that's served by the paper road when it's developed.
Again,
and
you're
that-
getting real specific.
Right.
Well, but the person who looks at developing the property would look, I was just looking to be helpful to the person that was considering developing the property, so they knew what they needed to comply with in order for,
They can look it up.
I can make it as short and sweet as you want to make it. That part of it, I was just trying to be clear, because when we went through planning commission, we said it was going to be 4 inches of compacted crusher run. That was going to be 3 layers of tar and chip. There were going to be swales on each side sufficient to manage stormwater. That's VDOT standards. I went to the fire chief and asked him how wide it needs to be to get his truck down there and properly service. He gave me that. The width wasn't determined by VDOT. The width was determined by
What did he give you for width?
18.
So what, VDOT doesn't have a width?
They do, but it's depending on the level of traffic. And what I'm saying is it shouldn't be dependent on the level of traffic. It should be the ability to have our emergency vehicles service.
Okay, then,
Because that changes too, though.
That
The
makes
level
sense.
of traffic
Then-
could change.
then would it make sense to say that the paper road, when it becomes a real road, must A, comply with current VDOT standards, and B, accommodate a fire truck? And whatever else. it
Well, but
needs to be.
there again, that's why I'm trying to get the policy in front of you that you
Yeah,
can.
bring
edit
one
and
to
adopt.
us.
Yeah.
Bring
But
one to us.
my concern is that if we pin down all the numbers of inches of
If
Yeah.
it's big.
depths of things, then that obligates us to keep up with every time that VDOT makes any enhancements to their policies.
Or we
To
agree
stay
that
current.
that's sufficient for a paper road to develop.
Yeah, how much are we gonna need to resolve, revise?
Why
that?
don't we look at a sample of
Yeah,
the,
let's
of
yeah,
the ordinance?
We've already worked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I am working on it. So
Okay, when it's ready, let's take a look at it.
Okay.
We're not talking about major roads in town, we're talking about old spurs that are sometimes only a few hundred feet long.
right.
Yeah. Well, no, that's, since you've already done some of the work, let's present it to us. and we'll go from there.
We'll do.
Any other questions? All right, council comments? Bob, that was one.
Well, I would like to also compliment the folks who were in charge of the parade, and the OBCA successfully landed Santa in spite of about a 25 knot wind, because I got my boat pulled up about 20 minutes before the kayaks went out, and that was crazy. But everything turned out wonderfully. I wish you guys the best. I look forward to staying engaged to the extent that you'll have me, and I look forward to working. I have enjoyed working with each and everybody, and I feel like leaving the town in good hands, both in terms of council members and also our town manager. So thank the constituents for voting me in twice. I won't be a stranger.
Cool.
Well, I just don't know who, I'm gonna turn to who here on my right hand.
You'll have to catch me when I'm walking Rixie. in the
Yeah,
morning.
there you go. I'll be out my fire pit. I did have a comment about the Airbnbs. I think we were going to get a map showing.
Yeah, I'm
200
trying to
plus
figure out
apartments.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I've got, if you went into my office, you saw I got maps hanging everywhere, trying to figure out what's gonna be the best, most usable way to.
Yeah. Possibly, when I look at the grant summary, there are some things on here that I have questions about.
What grants
For
are we talking
ARPA.
about? ARPA.
Yeah. And, if somebody asked me, for instance, the hypo tank.
Yeah.
Why are we spending $8,000 on a hypo tank? I know hypo's water, so I know it's gonna have something to do with water. But to come up with an explanation for that off the top of my head, I might have a little bit of a problem. So I would like at a council meeting, if we could, just to go down. It seems like we're moving ahead with projects that I'm not even real clear about what we're doing.
We talked about it.
I know we did, but I would
We
like
talked about what it was
to,
for as well.
I would like another explanation. Maybe
Are you
something.
spell that?
Hypo.
Hypo is under,
Hydro.
hydro is water.
It's.
It says hypo tank.
It's
hypo-
it's
yeah,
hypo- it's
Hydro.
It's for chloride, it's for putting, yeah, it's for mixing the
That's just an
chlorine that goes into
example.
the tank.
Yeah. So I would like to, if we could, at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Before we get too far ahead on this, and since we have a new council member, go down this list and
Well, it's a list in flux at all, I mean, it's not,
Yes.
it's not stone.
speaking
stuff.
of influx, we've also requested that on the original ARPA funding, the Northeast Playground was funded at $50,000. And then on the next funding, it was at $35,000, and we requested that it
the 15 be restored.
that the 15,000 be restored.
Just have to tell me where you want me to take it from. I'm happy to readjust,
Well, you've mentioned that several of your projects were coming in under budget.
but they're not under budget yet. So I have, you can see the statuses of every project and the amount of monies that we've spent on every project. I haven't even started project planning the Northeast project yet. So I'm happy, if you want me to redirect $15,000 from something, I'm more than happy to do it, but I also haven't gotten specific quotes or anything. This was the appropriation that you folks approved when we first came out. As things move, things are gonna change, the more we're gonna learn, we're gonna be able to refine this. So this was the list that I needed to put together for the, I'm trying to come up
Okay,
with my
well, maybe-
acronyms here, my
$50,000
interim,
Yes,
Okay, but if it was 50,000 to start with, and you yanked 15
I
out of
didn't
it,
yank anything.
well, I'm just, okay.
This is the
Let me
appropriation
say
that
you
you approved.
reappropriated, may I say? However you want to say it, 15,000 is a bigger chunk of that, of 50 than say 15 from 100 or another project. So I'm just saying it's at a higher percentage of the whole. So maybe we could reevaluate and find a way to get some of that back.
I'm happy to reevaluate this,
Thank
but
you.
I didn't
Yes,
thank you, Matt.
I
I know
didn't
you're good at that.
independently change this. You have to know that. This
But I
was
know.
what was presented to council and what council
But we
approved in
didn't
the
wake up in
appropriation.
time, okay?
yeah,
Well,
it was
that
done
part-
quickly.
Not your fault.
No, but
We're
the
coming
reason we
back.
had to do it quickly was because the interim final rule required that NEUs, which are cities under 50,000, submitted their spending plan. So now I've given them the spending plan, but I have to update it as we learn, I have to update that. So that's why the original appropriation was done. But like we said, we have time and none of this is in stone.
That's right, yeah,
So
it would, okay, that's what I'm.
yeah, I mean, if we want to,
Very
you know,
nice.
we ended up reducing a lot of those because we decided that we wanted to give additional support to other areas. So, you know, we balanced it the best way we could.
Okay,
Well-
we'll just work on it.
For
We
instance,
will.
downtown aesthetics, what exactly is that?
Well, first of all, it's actually not aesthetic, it's atheistic.
It's atheist, downtown atheist.
It's
Okay,
a typo.
what is that though exactly?
It's downtown, it's the way downtown looks. It's facades.
But what are we
it's
spending money on when
plantings,
somebody
it's-
asks me, what are we
it's-
spending
It's
35,000
everything
dollars?
from ornamental streetlight fixtures to benches to all of those things. But this was a dollar amount that was set aside to invest in the downtown, the way that downtown looks. I don't have a specific plan because I'm going to be coming back to you and saying, okay, if we have X dollars, this is what we might be able to do with it. And then you'll push and pull and we'll decide what we're going to do together.
Is not Main Street trying to get these same funds to do the same thing? The downtown aesthetics is what they're all about?
Well, they're not strictly aesthetic, but they're doing a facade, but you also gave them some money to do a facade improvement.
Right.
This is somewhat different. This is stuff that we own, benches, streetlights, planters, things like that, or town investments.
Right.
Not individual buildings, you know, that are owned by private. Landscaping, yeah, park stuff. I mean,
And I thought it was beautification as well.
it is, it's a big, it's.
No, I'm not saying, no, I'm saying specifically beautification and safety, you know, and I thought that was all
Better
part of
lighting,
the
I mean,
plan.
this
So
is open category.
it seems like a duplication
We need
of
to sit down and
efforts.
have a
Well,
work
there's a
session.
lot of work to do and
Yeah.
right now there's a lot of money out there. So
The other monies too.
there's other monies too. So yes, if they came forward with money and was going to pay for planters and benches, then clearly we wouldn't need to pay for planters and benches. We could pay more for lighting and,
And parks.
right.
And the Sunset Park, 40,000, and we're under the impression that's like one parking spot, right? Is that correct?
It's, if you look at if you go to the very end where the ramp, the end of the ramp and the end of the slip and back up about 16 feet, we end up losing one parking spot on one side and none on the other. So it just goes straight across. It's an angle. It creates an angle for the park, but it squares off the parking area.
So it's the last parking spot.
Yeah. And then if you look at the angle, you'll see if you take the one parking spot and go straight across with it, it creates a triangle.
And
Is that where the big boats are right in
We
front
haven't,
of that?
yeah, we need a plan. I mean, we haven't really have.
yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah, we're not gonna just go down and start digging, but we're gonna have a plan.
Yeah,
And
nothing-
and that was the low, kind of lower on the pole there that gets done, correct?
All right.
Yeah, who knows, yeah.
I don't prioritize, all I did
Well, I
was
thought you
put it
did
out
say-
there. I
I
mean,
did say
the
that-
first priorities were the water
Yeah, that's
system
what-
and
that's
the
what I'm
water
saying, we did
tower
that,
and the
yeah.
police generator, and the rest of it is still gonna be,
Yeah, we need,
Community
I think we
plan
need to have another
and
discussion
design.
about what we want to,
So before anything's done, we'll see the bids, we'll see the plans.
we need to see a plan
you
first
need to see
before
a
we bid.
plan.
Yeah,
We're
we're not
only
gonna,
bid before we get that.
yeah, and then dog park as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Please-
I understand we have a lot of donations for the dog park, right?
We've got people interested in contributing.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
Yeah.
people would-
No, I think, yeah, and like I said, if we get, like I said, we get more money for that, we can divert it to something else, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And wasn't that what the, OBCA donations went to from the Christmas tour?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was earmarked.
Yes.
Yeah, OBCA is committed to give $5,000 to the dog park.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So, yeah, we might not need that or what we're doing. All right. Mavis?
Just page 2 of this packet that we got here, and I just wanted to know that, I'm sorry, what is this, the town manager's report, I guess it is, on page 2 of that town manager's report. It says that, I was looking for a copy of the proposed plan because we were talking about, as our being part of a DMO,
Oh,
we have
the
spending plan
BTC
in
grant,
place.
okay.
We have a spending plan in place, and I don't know what that is.
The spending plan was, we came up with a list of things that Main Street and we agreed we would like to do, but there's no, my issue is, I'll try to go back. Accomack County got $260,000 from the BTC for ARPA. Northampton County got $100,000. Northampton County has 2 DMOs. Accomack County has 3. So the question, and the purpose of the grant was to give the dollars to DMOs so that it would benefit tourism on the shore. Both county supervisors have asked Eastern Shore Tourism Commission to oversee how these funds are spent and distributed. I, as a member of the Tourism Commission and representing Onancock, suggested that we get a carve out of the 260 so that we would know exactly how much we have to spend. That idea has been, found favorably, but not gone before the supervisors for their approval and appropriation. So what I'm saying is, we're gonna get something, I don't know what it is, and in the report, I gave examples of, it could be wayfinding signs, it could be a town app, it could be town walking maps, it could be advertising and signage, but because I don't know how much money we're gonna get, if they give us $1,000, I'll buy an ad. If they give us $50,000, it's a different project.
Okay, so, but I'm just saying that it says here that you have a plan, and I just don't know what the plan is.
And I outlined it in the
what your
report.
proposal is.
I outlined it in the report.
In your town manager?
Yeah, where it says,
Oh, and the second, and the report that was in,
the one that was today, yeah, that's
Okay.
why I'm saying is
Oh,
that
okay.
I submitted that today. That's why
okay.
it says our tentative plan is to invest funds in wayfinding signs, a town app, walking maps, and advertising. All of these projects fall under the guidelines of the expenditures, but we simply don't know how much we'll have to spend yet, so I can't prepare a budget.
Okay. The other thing is the parade was wonderful, but there was an issue with the kid choking on candy.
Oh, yeah, I talked to Fletcher and
Okay,
No.
but I just think that we have to be mindful of what we're giving out. And secondly, the cleanup afterward. I swept the street in front of the store. Mary Clemens swept the street in front of her building. There was candy all over the place. And the other issue is that dogs can get sick from it too.
Don't we have a sweet?
We got it out there Tuesday morning, not Monday morning. We've already talked about that. We already talked about that.
I thought that, okay, I didn't know whether it was scheduled. I think we do 2 sweeps a year or something.
No,
It's VDOT. We own our own attachment.
We bought one now.
Yeah.
VDOT, that's right, VDOT does 2 sweeps a year, but I just wanted to be sure
No, you're right.
that Market Street is taken care of promptly because there are, I mean, I'm thinking about animals and that's.
We talked about that internally, about how that should have been taken care of when the cones got picked up. but-
Units are thrown out candy, they're not town related, yeah. We're not the only people.
Oh,
getting
right,
out
right,
candy.
everybody
So we
does.
can't control
We
everybody's
can't, but
candy
we can
throw.
control what we do.
Right, yeah, right. We will.
That's it.
I did not know about this.
I didn't know that either.
Right now,
Here,
I linked
please.
it over, the round one.
Well, I mean, what, how do you?
well, you can't control what everybody else does. All I'm saying is we have to be mindful of what we do.
I don't know what, what do you, when you're throwing out, when you get a candy bar, they can choke on a candy bar, so what are you gonna throw?
It's different.
Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
You have comments? No?
December first was, deadline for a block grant. Do you have any idea whether it was sent?
It was sent, and I don't have any update on status, but we did get confirmation that DHCD received it.
All right, we have a closed session here, need somebody to read the motion about the closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we enter closed session as permitted by paragraph 2.2-3711A3, discuss real estate matters at 10:08 p.m.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Can you, yeah, thank you.